What's good, wonderful people? Thank you for being here for the Antidote. We took last week off. Ain't like nothing happened in the world, huh? But we took last week off. Your boy was traveling. Let me get these Instagram folks over here. So it's good to be back this week. It is real good to be back this week. Lots going on in the world. Obviously, every day gives us something new. Let me get this camera right. Let's try to make sure that we're good here. Yeah, so we got a great show tonight. We are going to be talking about President Trump congratulating President Boakai from Liberia on him speaking English. That's his native language, y'all. We're going to be talking about alligator Alcatraz and Laura Loomer suggesting that we feed all the Latinos in the country to the alligators there. So it's good to see some things don't change. And then we're going to talk about Ann Coulter wishing that we killed more Indians. That's her term, not mine. But before we get into all that, I want to give folks time to jump on here. Join us. If you're joining us live, feel free to engage in the chat either on Instagram or here on YouTube. Either one. I'm monitoring both, y'all. And also, last week I was in San Antonio by the floods, and so I want to start with just peace to everybody who's struggling, who's lost people, and are still searching. It's tragic. It's 100% avoidable. That makes it even more tragic. Whenever these things happen, right? It's a tragedy, but the fact that this was 100% avoidable makes it even worse. So yeah, I wanna make sure we start with that. Yeah, it's Thursday night. Like I said, I was traveling. I'm gonna be traveling most of July. Gonna try to get on here though and talk to y'all about some things that are important. Gonna be connecting that to how we make the world a little bit better, how we make the world a little bit more healthy place. Would love for you to join the conversation live or catch it after. If anybody's got any ideas for how to get more subscribers and things like that, hit me up, man. Look, I'm not too proud to beg, as TLC said. I am not too proud to beg. All right, y'all. You know what else tonight is? Tonight is Beyonce's first show of the Cowboy Carter tour here in Atlanta. And that is where my daughter and partner are at. And she surprised her with tickets, super bomb. So I have to make sure I'm wrapped up in time to get the house cleaned and all that to be able to go pick them up. So we are not going to take too much longer. Welcome those folks on Instagram. It's good to see you. Thanks for being here. Feel free to comment, engage, ask questions. We always try to answer the questions that folks ask. But we're gonna go ahead and get started. And I don't know if y'all seen this. We're gonna start with this. It's not like the most ridiculous. It was pretty ridiculous, but it's not the most serious story, right? But it's just one of them things where the arrogance of whiteness is on full display, white masculinity particularly. So I don't know if y'all seen this or not, but I wanted to show y'all, and we are going to do that now. This is President Trump was meeting with 5 African countries, talking about how they could get out of the tariffs. And this is President Boakai from Liberia. Let me just play this clip for y'all. Let me get it queued up here. There we go. Here we go.
Want to encourage American involvement in the investment in Liberia. Yeah, we'd like to see that happen. We want to work with the United States in peace and security within the region because we are committed to that. And we just want to thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, thank you. And such good English, such beautiful. Where did you learn to speak so beautifully? were you educated where?
Yes, sir.
In Liberia?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's very interesting. It's beautiful English.
Sure.
I have people at this table can't speak nearly as well,
Very
and
good, sir. Thank you.
they come from here. So thank you very much.
All right, y'all. So here we go. That is the one and only Donald Trump putting his foot in his mouth like only he can. So there's a couple things going on here. One, it is the height of absurdity that the president of the United States, in a meeting about international diplomacy, meeting with the head of another sovereign country, finds it at all acceptable to discuss the quality of the English being spoken. That is just absolutely asinine, right? It also is steeped in a what's called paternalism of whiteness. And what I mean by that is white folks see black and brown people, but particularly black folks, and think that they are less than, think that they are not capable, right? Think that they need saving or they need looking out for, they need to be saved from themselves. And then when somebody who's black demonstrates that they're capable, if not more than capable, it becomes this real thing, right? So you see that Trump attacks Obama because he couldn't do that. Obama wasn't genuflecting to Trump. Trump wasn't the president then, right? I'm not suggesting that President Boakai was doing anything wrong. But there was just different power dynamics at the time. And so Trump doing that is him steeped in whiteness, right? That is a very classic racist thing to be doing, right? But then there's also this piece where Trump and his cabinet and everybody around him continue to demonstrate how absurdly incapable they are and how deeply unserious they are. Liberia is an English-speaking country, right? Liberia is founded by the American Colonial Society. Their idea, that racist idea, was to get all Africans, enslaved Africans, back to Africa, and they founded Liberia. It was under James Monroe. The capital is named after Monroe, and so there's a whole lot here where Trump is demonstrating the supreme arrogance of whiteness, as well as the absolute mediocrity and just how disgusting and just hollow and devoid of anything that might resemble decency, skill, quality, aptitude, any of those things, right? It is such a bad look. It is such a bad look. And yeah, it's not as serious as some of our other stories, but I wanted to start with it today because it kind of sets the tone for what I want y'all to be thinking about, right? This is things like this, the moments like this, when Trump is seemingly doing something that's not so serious, they actually matter. They matter, right? Understanding why he thinks that that's an okay thing to say, understanding why he thinks that why he doesn't understand that he should know a little bit more about the countries where these folks are coming from, where these leaders are coming from. And if you think he knew, I think the other, like Gabon, Sierra Leone, Guinea-Bissau's there, he don't know shit about none of them countries either. Right, let's be very clear. And so it just reeks of arrogance. It reeks of I don't even know the word, just disgusting. It's disgusting. And if you're somebody that thinks like that, and you're now just realizing like, oh shit, that's kind of a bad look, I need you to look back and think like, hey, do I think about things like this, right? Like Trump called those countries shithole countries. We know how he feels about them. And so it's not surprising that he interacts with their leaders in this way, right? In this very paternalistic, in this very condescending, disrespectful, and just racist way. And it matters. It matters, y'all, because it normalizes and leads to things like our next two stories, which are much, much more serious. And I want to spend some time on. But before we get there, if you could go ahead and like this video, make sure you subscribe. That would be amazing. That would be amazing, right? So yeah, let's get to the next story. And this one you may have heard of. It was around. This is our good friend Laura Loomer. How Laura Loomer got the platform that she has and the access that she has is beyond me. I don't understand it. I don't think I'll ever understand it. But whatever. So I gotta get drunk. I've been thirsty. So Laura Loomer was celebrating the opening of what's called Alligator Alcatraz. Some folks might refer to it as a concentration camp for undocumented people. I think they would be correct, right? This is essentially a tent city in the Florida Everglades, where I believe it was the Attorney General of the state, some high-ranking member of the state, not DeSantis and not Rubio. It was a state employee, bragged about they're not going to have to spend a whole lot for security because the island is surrounded by alligators and pythons, right? And that if people tried to get away or tried to get there, you can only get there by plane. It's a wild place, right? And it's hastily thrown together. They are holding detainees there, undocumented people. It's already flooded. There's already credible accusations of inhumane conditions. It's just a terrible, terrible place, right? It demonstrates the lack of humanity that white folks have, that the Trump administration has when thinking about undocumented people, particularly brown people, right? Because it ain't European undocumented people that are being sent there. Let's be clear, right? And rhetoric that has dehumanized, how effective the dehumanizing rhetoric around immigrants and undocumented immigrants particularly have been. The existence of Alligator Alcatraz is proof of how effective that's been. But Laura Loomer, when talking about it, had this to say: alligator lives matter. The good news is alligators are guaranteed at least 65 million meals if we get started now. And remember, Alligator Alcatraz is set to hold undocumented people, right? Now, you might at first glance be like, oh, that's callous. That's bad. She's talking about feeding 65 million people to alligators. But we don't know who she's talking about, Ryan. You don't know who she's talking about. Well, here's the thing. That 65 million number is not a coincidence. That is also the number of Latino people in the country. I guess, and according to the census, they're Hispanics, right? That is the number of Latino people in the country. So here is concrete proof, good people. Here is concrete proof. Let me take this off so I can get here. That this is not about and has never been about immigration status. Right. And I can't believe that we have to continue to try to prove this point when we're stripping citizenship, when we have Mahmoud Khalil being away, and we have Ramesa Ozturk, and we have Kilmar Abrego Garcia, all of whom are here legally, had done everything they needed to do to be legal citizens, permanent citizens, right? Courts have said that they're good, and they're being stripped, right? So we shouldn't need to continue to prove this point, and yet here we are. This is yet another example of the way that the right and those folks in Trump's administration and who believe in Trumpism conceptualize other human beings, particularly those that they imagine are not American. Those people, make no mistake about it, have brown skin, speak Spanish, and are not worthy, therefore, of due process or of anything that resembles basic human decency. Right? When you can tweet, I want to be like, you're tweeting this out. You're putting this out there for everybody. It's out there. This is a call to violence. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if somebody in Antifa said, hey, you know, anti-fascist lives matter, or, you know, something like that, like wolves lives matter, and good news, we could feed all of the Tea Party or all 74 million people who voted for Donald Trump to the wolves. Can you imagine what would happen? Right? And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be offended by that there shouldn't be backlash, that there shouldn't be calls for accountability. I think there should be. But there should also be for this, because that 65 million number is not a coincidence. It's not an accident. Right. And so remember, here at the Antidote, we look for how do we respond to this in ways that brings us closer, that builds connection. And the way that we do that, folks, is that we don't equivocate. We don't allow for people to equivocate and say, well, oh, we're only talking about undocumented, or they should came here legally, or this and that. Point blank, period. The right doesn't care how brown people came here. They don't care. They just want them gone. They stripped Haitians of their TPS status, temporary protected status. So it ain't even going to be brown folks. It's about to be black folks too, because that's the pretext, right? Is because Haitians are black. Now everybody's going to have a target on their back. It is going to take us white folks to stand up and say, we are not going. This is unequivocally bad. That we will not allow even to take another step down this path, because we know where it goes. It leads to genocide, ethnic cleansing, and white nationalism. And in case you think I'm tripping on that, that will take us to our third story. And this comes from somebody who's no stranger to disgusting things, or public scrutiny or the spotlight. She loves it. But this is her latest abhorrent take. Her latest exposure of her lack of a soul and basic human decency. And that belongs to none other than Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter, responding to a picture from actually a University of Minnesota professor who's indigenous. And she was speaking at a social justice conference. And she's in fairly traditional clothes, but not even, right? And here, I'll show you. Let me show you. I wanted to bring this up. Let me show you what the whole tweet looks like. Here it is. Hold on. We'll share screen. If you have questions, please go ahead, put them in the chat, whether on Instagram or YouTube. Make sure you like this. So this is what it was. So this woman, Marina Medvin, who, you know, make sure you throw that American flag in there, tweeted out, radicals at the Socialism 2025 conference are giddily discussing the destruction of America. This woman is a college professor, right? So take a look. So this is a critique of her clothes, right? Ostensibly, this is oh, here we go. Hold on, let me add it to the stage. That would probably help, huh? So you can see this is who she's talking about, the tweet that was coming from, and that is supposed to be enough, right? That, like, there's so much to talk about here. First, the way that whiteness dictates what we believe should be worn, shouldn't be worn, and all that, right? it's despicable. It's also one of those things where it's kind of just built in. It's conditioned, right? When I say whiteness is the water that we swim in, or that we're not even sure. So if you're seeing this and you're like, oh, that's a terrible thing for Ann Coulter to say. I don't understand what the original post, why that was bad, is because the filtering of who's worthy, who's professional, who's smart, who should be talking, who should be teaching college based on how you dress is absurd. It's unacceptable. It's not okay. And just for the record, that is Professor Melanie Yazzie, and she was advocating for tribal sovereignty, something that was written into all the treaties, something that should be the backbone if America is going to ever make repair for stealing land and all that. Something that every good person should be absolutely 100% 10 toes down on. But especially if you find yourself doing land acknowledgments and things like that, native sovereignty should be always something that is a non-negotiable. That's something that we shouldn't even, that should just be what it is, right? And so Dr. Yazzie is talking about native sovereignty, not about socialism 2025 or whatever the original post is. So there's the problem there, right? I want to make that connection really quick. Like that initial filter, the fact that the original poster is out of line, is being racist, is perpetuating whiteness. But then to have somebody of Ann Coulter's status tweet the quiet part out loud, really, right? So Ann Coulter put this out. We didn't kill enough Indians. This it is at some level I can appreciate the brazenness and there's the unfiltered nature of the hate and the white nationalism and what you think needs to happen. But this should make every decent person's stomach turn. This is wildly dangerous, right? This is calling for extermination. This is just 100% in a country with any sort of decency. This would be absolutely unacceptable. That would have bipartisan or across the political spectrum, because a country with decency wouldn't only have two parties, but across the political spectrum would be condemned. We would be searching for how did this worldview not only get present here, but how did it get perpetuated by somebody with such a large platform? What was it about our schooling, about our parenting, about our family structure, about our social structure that allows for this to permeate, right? The same way that Trump and the white nationalists and the folks behind Project 2025 were asking those questions about what little progress we did make, right? They were asking, how did we get gender ideology and DEI and CRT and all these things? The left doesn't ask those questions. Right. And that's fundamentally because liberalism isn't capable of asking those questions because they don't want to know the answer to it. But it is fundamental that we begin to ask those questions and that we take seriously the answering them. And the answer can't be exclusion. The answer has to be healing. That's the long-term answer. Now, I know some people are just the ops, right? I do know that some people are not going to evolve. Some people are committed to white nationalism. I have a good answer for what we do with those folks. But I do know that I don't believe that that's everybody. I don't believe that that's everybody that voted for Trump. And I think we have an obligation, at least in some spaces, to hold the both end, to offer the path for repair, while absolutely holding no space for those types of calls of violence and no space for the harm that their worldview does. So here for a good time, not a long time tonight, y'all. If anybody has any questions, I will take them in the chat. I don't see none. I'm hopping over on Instagram. I don't see none over there either. What up, Steph? All right, y'all. Well, this is going to be up on YouTube. Feel free to return to it. Please share it with your people. And I hope you're having a great night. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week here on the Antidote. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Peace, y'all.